Welcome back to Safety Glasses Required, and my second video in my CNC router series. The first video was all about how I built the mobile base that my OpenBuilds LEAD1515 CNC router sits on. This video is all about dust collection. This video is going to cover how I built the dust collection system that I have on my machine behind me here. As you may know, CNC routers require dust collection to help control the chips that they're creating as they're cutting. The first part of my dust collection system is a Carbide 3D Sweepy 2.0 dust boot. I use a Carbide compact router on my CNC, and the Sweepy 2.0 dust boot mates perfectly with it. I like the magnetic lower portion that can be removed easily when changing bits or using the zero setter. The clear body also makes it easy to keep an eye on the bit and make sure that chips are being properly evacuated. Dust moves through the Carbide 3D Sweepy dust boot into a Rockler Dust Right 2.5-inch anti-static dust hose. Rockler's dust hose is impregnated with carbon black. This helps to prevent static electricity buildup that can create all kinds of issues. First, it helps to prevent uncomfortable static electric shocks to the operator. Second, static shocks are not only uncomfortable for you, they can wreak havoc with your CNC electronics. So far, this hose has been great, but it is a bit heavier than your standard plastic flexible hose. Combine the heft of this hose with the typical complications of trying to route a flexible hose to your CNC router spindle without it getting tangled during operation, and that requires a strong and flexible mounting solution. To support the dust collection hose, I built a swing arm that mounts to the corner of my mobile base out of 1-inch square tubing. The steel upright bolts to the mobile base and has a bolt welded to the top. The tubing that makes up the swing arm is then bolted to a gate hinge. The bolt on the top of the upright goes into the gate hinge with fender washers that are lightly greased during assembly. Finally, the swing arm has a small tab welded to the end of the arm to prevent the straps that hold the hose from sliding off the end of the swing arm. The hose is attached to the swing arm with Velcro straps at the moment, but I am considering changing this in the future and using flexible straps or bungees. Dust moves through the anti-static hose into a Harbor Freight dust separator that is basically a clone of a dust deputy. CNC routers can generate chips and dust at a high rate that can fill up a typical shop vacuum bag relatively quickly. Using a dust separator helps to drop the sawdust out into a 5-gallon bucket that can be easily emptied into the trash and prevents the shop vacuum bag from filling up. This will save you money from buying shop vacuum bags and allow the bag to be used to filter out the finer particles. Finally, while using the CNC, I plug the shop vacuum into an outlet mounted on the back of the mobile base. This outlet is controlled by a switch on the front of the CNC near the operator position. This allows me to turn the vacuum on and off without having to walk around the machine. The Carbide compact router is plugged into a similar outlet controlled by a similar switch on the front of the machine. This allows me to turn the router on and off from the operator position. As I mentioned in a previous video, the router switch is mounted to the side of the Carbide compact router. This isn't ideal because while the machine is running, it is difficult to get to the switch and can be dangerous to try to reach the switch when it is possibly up to 4 feet away from you. With the switch mounted to the front of the machine, I can simply turn off the router without having to try to reach into the machine while it's running or climb behind the machine quickly and unplug the router. I created 3D printed shrouds that help to prevent accidental activation of the switches. In order to easily identify which switch is which, I created these 3D printed labels for the vacuum and router spindle. The CAD files for the switch shrouds are available in the link below from Prusa Printers, so you can print your own. Enjoy the following build video showing how I built the swing arm and the switch shrouds. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Future videos about the LEAD1515 will cover my bed modifications, how I designed a different mounting surface. Like, you know, as the machine comes from OpenBuilds, or at least how they spec it out, they want a 1/2 inch sheet of MDF attached to the top of the V-slot rails. And that doesn't give you any room really to surface that bed down to make it nice and flat, especially if you want to put threaded inserts in for different hold downs and fixtures and things you might attach to the bed. There just really isn't anything to work with at that point. So I designed a bed that's stiffer, stronger, has mounting points attached to it, and mounts the machine in a slightly different way. So you're going to want to not leave the center of the mobile base open like I originally did, because I ended up changing that. There's also a control panel build that will have a place for the OpenBuilds interface to sit, as well as storage for end mills, mounting, tools, and screws, hardware, different things that you're going to be regularly using with the machine. And it also kind of rotates out of the way and gets the interface so it's not sitting in front of the machine or anywhere that's in the way if you want to do those pass-through cuts with longer material. And I'm hoping to do a lot of more fun builds, maybe some furniture, kids' toys, different things like that. Well, really excited to start working on some new projects with the machine, and finally that the shop is actually usable again. So and then, like I said, the designs, if you like this design, it's going to be in my blog, see below. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments below. Hope you enjoy. Subscribe. Thanks again.